Welcome to our channel. We are so glad you found your way here. Let us help you fall asleep. Let's begin with the ritual scourging, stripping the humanity from the Roman parricide. Take a slow, deep breath in and release it. Let the noise of today fall away as we step back, not just hours or years, but centuries, into the vast theater of crime and punishment in ancient Rome. If you genuinely like our videos, please hit like and subscribe. The concept of parricide in ancient Rome carries profound implications, intricately woven into the very fabric of its societal structure. This act, defined as the killing of one's father, held deep-seated cultural significance, reflecting both familial loyalty and the potential for catastrophic betrayal. This region's history reveals a complex interplay between duty and desperation, where the weight of lineage could drive an individual to commit the unthinkable. Cicero's writings illuminate the moral and legal ramifications of such actions, emphasizing the abhorrence of parricide in Roman thought. The punishment for those who committed this crime was severe, often resulting in a public execution, a ritual that underscored the societal disdain for breaking familial bonds. This response, deeply rooted in tradition, served as both a deterrent and a means of restoring order. These ruins of ancient Rome continue to echo with tales of those who faced the ultimate judgment. Figures like Nero and the infamous stories surrounding his lineage showcase how power and madness could intertwine, leading to tragic outcomes. The implications of parricide extend beyond individual guilt, weaving a narrative of communal fear, societal collapse, and the fragility of authority. In understanding these dynamics, one gains insight into the moral framework that shaped Roman civilization and its enduring legacy. Family structure in Roman society was paramount, serving as the cornerstone of both personal identity and social organization. The pater familias, or male head of the household, wielded substantial authority, overseeing all aspects of family life. This power dynamic fostered a rigid hierarchy, where loyalty and obedience were expected from family members. Such structures ensured the preservation of familial honor and the continuation of lineage, reflecting the societal emphasis on status and reputation. This region experienced complex interactions between individual desires and collective obligations. Marriages were often arranged, facilitating alliances that strengthened political ties and economic stability. The role of women, while traditionally confined to domestic spheres, could also encompass significant influence, particularly in the management of household affairs and social relationships. Children were viewed as extensions of their parents' legacies, and their upbringing was marked by a blend of discipline and education. The expectation was that offspring would carry forward the family name and honor, reinforcing the idea of shared responsibility for the family's reputation. In this context, acts of violence, such as parricide, disrupted not only familial bonds, but also the societal fabric. Such transgressions were not merely personal failures. They reflected broader implications for the stability of Roman society and its values. The repercussions of these actions rippled through public consciousness, challenging the very foundations of authority and morality. Ritual scourging served as both a method of punishment and a profound societal statement. It represented the intersection of justice and ritualistic tradition, transcending mere physicality to embody deeper cultural meanings. This practice involved systematic, often brutal, whipping of an individual, designed to extract confessions or enforce compliance. The sheer intensity of the act conveyed a message both to the recipient and the onlookers, reaffirming the power dynamics at play within the community. In these moments, the body became a canvas upon which societal values were inscribed. This form of punishment was not only a display of authority, but also a manifestation of collective emotions, fears, and moral convictions. The significance of ritual scourging extended beyond the physical pain inflicted. It acted as a reinforcement of social order, a reminder of the consequences of defiance. The ritual took on additional layers when intertwined with religious connotations, often invoking divine judgment. It was perceived as a necessary purification, stripping away the humanity of the individual, transforming them into a vessel for communal catharsis. Observers were compelled to confront their own complicity in the systemic machinations of power. In this region of ancient Rome, the echoes of that torment lingered, leaving an indelible mark on the cultural psyche, shaping narratives that persisted long after the dust settled. The father held a position of paramount importance within Roman family dynamics, embodying authority and responsibility. This role, often characterized by strict governance, established the foundation for societal structure. The pater familias, as he was known, wielded significant power over family members, guiding decisions that impacted every aspect of their lives. Responsibilities extended beyond mere provision, encompassing moral and ethical guidance. They determined social standing through lineage, emphasizing the importance of ancestry in maintaining familial honor. This influence was palpable in public and private spheres alike, where respect for paternal authority dictated behavior and expectations. An intricate balance existed between love and discipline, with affection often expressed through the lens of duty. The emotional landscape was shaped by a complex interplay of expectation and obligation, where the father's approval was a coveted prize. Rituals and traditions reinforced these dynamics, embedding them into the fabric of daily life.
The consequences of straying from this established order could be severe, leading to social ostracism or even violence. In moments of extreme breach, such as parricide, the implications were profound, severing not only familial ties but also the very fabric of societal coherence. The repercussions rippled through generations, reshaping perceptions of authority and loyalty within this ancient civilization. The legal framework surrounding parricide in Roman law was intricate and severe. Offenses against a parent or ancestor were considered among the gravest of crimes, embodying a profound breach of familial duty. This region's legal codes outlined that those found guilty faced the ultimate consequences, often resulting in execution. The Romans believed that such heinous acts not only disrupted familial bonds but also undermined the very fabric of society. Ancient texts reveal that parricide was treated with a unique intensity, reflecting deep moral and ethical considerations. Trials were meticulously conducted, with the accused subjected to rigorous scrutiny. Evidence had to be incontrovertible, ensuring that justice was served with both precision and finality. In cases of patricide, the punishment was particularly brutal, sometimes involving symbolic acts intended to illustrate the gravity of the crime. The role of the judiciary was pivotal, tasked with upholding the laws that governed familial relationships. Legal practitioners often invoked the principles of natural law, arguing that the sanctity of the family was paramount. Legal penalties were not merely punitive, they served as deterrents against the erosion of social order. The fear of retribution kept many in check, reinforcing the expectation of loyalty and reverence toward one's parents. This framework, the psychological implications of parricide extend far beyond the individual act itself. This phenomenon often reveals deep-seated familial dynamics and societal tensions. The motivations behind such an extreme decision can stem from a complex interplay of emotions, including resentment, betrayal, and a desperate quest for autonomy. This aspect of the human psyche reflects a struggle against authority and an attempt to reclaim power in situations perceived as oppressive. Consequences manifest not only within the perpetrator, but also ripple through the family unit and broader community. The act breeds a profound sense of alienation, leaving lasting scars on relationships and emotional well-being. Those involved may grapple with guilt and shame, leading to long-term psychological distress. In the aftermath, the societal response often shifts towards condemnation, creating a further divide between the individual and their community. Understanding these dynamics calls for a nuanced exploration of human behavior. Such actions challenge the boundaries of morality and ethics, forcing society to confront uncomfortable truths about familial loyalty and the limits of love. This reflection on the darker aspects of human nature reveals unsettling questions about identity and belonging, urging an examination of how deeply ingrained cultural narratives shape perceptions of familial duty. These complexities underscore the intricate relationship between personal history and collective societal norms. The ritual scourging emerges as a profound cultural phenomenon, deeply embedded in the fabric of Roman society. This practice, often viewed through the lens of morality and punishment, resonates with the broader themes of power and control. It serves as a reflection of societal values, revealing the tension between individual agency and communal expectations. Through the lens of the scourging, one can observe the interplay of fear and reverence. It is not merely an act of violence, rather, it embodies a ritualistic approach to transgression and retribution. The physical act itself becomes a conduit for expressing collective outrage, reinforcing the moral fabric of the community. These events were structured with a clear purpose, intended to uphold societal norms and deter future infractions. The significance of this ritual extends beyond its immediate impact. It contributes to a shared identity, fostering a sense of belonging among participants and witnesses alike. The community collectively engages in this expression of justice, reinforcing their values and beliefs. In this environment, the scourging also serves as a mechanism for catharsis, allowing the populace to channel its frustrations and anxieties. The ritual thus highlights the paradox within societal structures, where the enforcement of order can simultaneously evoke a sense of solidarity and alienation among individuals. Such complexities render the ritual scourging a critical lens through which to examine the larger dynamics of Roman cultural identity. Myths and legends surrounding parricide in Roman law reveal deeply embedded societal fears and moral quandaries. The narratives often depict the act as one steeped in betrayal, invoking the wrath of the gods and the disintegration of familial bonds. These stories are imbued with cautionary themes, illustrating the consequences of regicide or fratricide, where the familial unit serves as a microcosm of the state itself, or a fratricide, where the familial unit serves as a microcosm of the state itself. In particular, the tale of Orestes and his matricide resonates with Roman audiences, highlighting the internal conflict between duty and morality. Such narratives reinforce the notion that breaking these sacred ties invites divine retribution, leading to societal chaos. The complexities of guilt and atonement echo through these accounts, shaping cultural identities. Figures such as Lucretia further exemplify the interplay of honor and violence. Her tragic fate underscores the consequences of dishonor within the family unit. In this region of myth, parricide stands not merely as an act of violence, but as a profound commentary on the vulnerabilities of human connection. These stories weave a narrative framework that reflects the anxieties of a civilization grappling with its moral compass. The symbolism of punishment in Roman religion reveals a complex interplay between divine retribution and societal order. Ritual acts often served to reinforce the power of the gods, manifesting as both a warning and an assurance of justice. Sacrifices were made to appease deities, their blood signifying purification and the restoration of balance. This act underscored the belief that transgressions against societal norms invited divine scrutiny. In these ancient practices, the physicality of punishment took on profound meaning. The use of the fasces, a bundle of rods surrounding an axe, represented authority and the state's power to punish. This iconography reinforced the notion that punishment was not merely a consequence of wrongdoing, but a necessary pillar of social cohesion. The more severe the transgression, the more elaborate the ritual, indicating a heightened need for appeasement. Additionally, public spectacles often illustrated the collective understanding of morality within the community. By witnessing the consequences of crimes, citizens were reminded of their obligations and the potential repercussions of their actions. These rituals created a shared space where the divine and mortal realms intersected, emphasizing the inextricable link between societal laws and divine will. Through the lens of these religious practices, one can see the intricate relationship between punishment, belief, and the moral fabric of Roman society. The exploration of fate reveals deep connections to Greek tragedy, where the concept transcends mere storytelling to become a powerful cultural force. Roman society, influenced by these narratives, adopted notions of inescapable destiny, often viewing life as a series of predetermined events shaped by the gods. The tragic heroes, bound by their flaws and circumstances, serve as reflections of human vulnerability against the vastness of fate. In this cultural milieu, the interplay between choice and predestination becomes pivotal. These narratives emphasize the weight of human action, suggesting that while individuals may be subject to fate's decree, their choices determine the moral weight of their journeys. Such themes resonate within Roman literature, where characters grapple with their destinies, often leading to tragic outcomes that underscore the consequences of hubris and moral failing. The philosophical discussions surrounding fate also permeated political thought and governance. Leaders and statesmen, aware of their roles within this framework, sought divine favor, believing their actions could align with or defy the will of the gods. The reverberations of Greek tragedy thus echoed through the halls of Roman power, influencing not only art and literature, but also the very foundations of societal norms and values. This intertwining of narrative and belief systems illustrates the profound impact of Greek tragedy on Roman thought, shaping notions of morality, consequence, and the human condition. Case studies of notable parricides in Roman history reveal the stark manifestations of this philosophical influence. One prominent figure, Julius Caesar, faced the ultimate betrayal at the hands of those he deemed allies. The assassination on the Ides of March not only marked a pivotal moment in Roman politics, but also echoed the tragic themes of fate and moral ambiguity found in Greek dramas. Betrayal, ambition, and the quest for power converge. illustrating the destructive nature of such violent acts.
Another significant instance involves the infamous Nero, who, driven by paranoia and ambition, orchestrated the deaths of his mother, Agrippina, and other family members. This act, steeped in the tragic motifs of fratricide and familial destruction, underscores the fragility of loyalty amidst the ruthless pursuit of power.
The aftermath was a reign marked by chaos and moral decay, reflective of the tragic narratives that had shaped Roman sensibilities. In examining these cases, the consequences of parricide surface as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the delicate balance between authority and familial ties. The ripple effects of these decisions extend beyond the immediate loss, altering the political landscape and societal values for generations. Such acts resonate through time, illustrating the timeless struggle between personal ambition and ethical responsibility. Institutions within Roman society served as mechanisms of social control, maintaining order amidst the complexities of human ambition. These structures were deeply intertwined with cultural norms and values, reinforcing the expectations of behavior among citizens. Laws provided a framework for acceptable conduct, delineating the boundaries between personal freedom and communal responsibility. Punishments for transgressions were often severe, aiming to deter deviations from the established social order. The role of the family was paramount, embodying the ideals of loyalty and respect. It functioned as a microcosm of society, where obedience to authority figures was instilled from an early age. This dynamic cultivated a sense of duty that extended beyond familial ties to the broader community. The influence of status and class further complicated interactions, as those of higher rank wielded power that could suppress dissent and promote conformity. Religious practices also contributed to social cohesion, with rituals reinforcing collective identity and shared values. Participation in these ceremonies fostered a sense of belonging, binding individuals to the larger narrative of Roman culture. Public spectacles, such as games and festivals, were orchestrated to distract from societal issues while simultaneously celebrating the glory of the state. These elements functioned in concert, creating an environment where personal ambition could be both encouraged and constrained, perpetuating a delicate balance within the Roman system. The use of scourging in Roman punitive practices revealed a calculated approach to discipline and control. This method served not only as a punishment, but also as a public demonstration of power. Offenders, often seen as threats to societal order, faced this brutal form of retribution, designed to instill fear and obedience among the populace. Scourging was typically administered before execution, heightening its impact as a form of psychological warfare. By enduring such humiliation, individuals were stripped of their humanity, reduced to symbols of transgression against the state. The physical pain inflicted served to reinforce the moral authority of Roman law, emphasizing the consequences of defiance. An Ibbenenice and spectacle of scourging played a dual role. It acted as a cautionary tale for onlookers. Showcasing the might of Roman authority while simultaneously reinforcing social hierarchies. The act itself was often performed by lictors or soldiers, whose disciplined execution of the punishment underscored the efficiency of the Roman legal system. The visceral nature of this practice ensured it remained etched in the collective memory of the citizens. It fostered a culture where compliance was not merely expected, but demanded, thereby solidifying the intricate relationship between governance and societal behavior in the ancient world. This dynamic contributed to the broader mechanisms of control that characterized Roman life. The role of the praetors in parricide trials exemplified the legal complexities of the Roman judicial system. These officials wielded significant power, tasked with overseeing cases that bore profound societal implications. They maintained the delicate balance between enforcing the law and addressing the moral fabric of the Republic. When accusations of parricide arose, the praetors meticulously examined evidence, often relying on testimonies that could sway public sentiment. In these trials, the atmosphere grew tense. As the stakes were inherently high, the accused faced not only legal repercussions, but also a social stigma that could irreparably alter their standing. It was not uncommon for praetors to conduct proceedings in public venues, allowing the populace to witness the unfolding drama, thereby reinforcing communal values and ideals. The presence of the crowd served as both a reminder of societal expectations and a form of accountability for the praetors themselves. Consequences of these trials extended beyond individual cases. The outcome often influenced future interpretations of legal precedents, shaping the overarching legal landscape. Through their decisions, praetors contributed to the evolving narrative surrounding familial loyalty and the sanctity of life. This intricate interplay of power, morality, and societal norms solidified the praetors' position within the Roman judicial framework, reinforcing their pivotal role in matters of parricide. The influence of Stoicism profoundly shaped Roman perceptions of justice, weaving philosophical principles into the fabric of legal thought. In this era, Stoicism emphasized rationality and virtue as essential components of a moral life. These ideals permeated judicial proceedings, guiding praetors and citizens alike in their understanding of right and wrong. This philosophical framework advocated for a justice system grounded in reason rather than emotion, promoting a sense of detachment from personal grievances. The Stoic belief in universal reason encouraged individuals to view justice as a collective responsibility, transcending personal biases and familial loyalties. This led to a societal expectation that the law should uphold the greater good, even in the face of deeply ingrained familial attachments. Such ideals often resulted in a stark approach to parricide, where emotional considerations were set aside in favor of rational deliberation. Key figures within Roman society championed these Stoic principles, reinforcing the idea that true justice demanded consistency and impartiality. Legislative reforms reflected this shift, as laws evolved to reflect a more objective standard, with the well-being of the community taking precedence over individual circumstances. The enduring impact of Stoicism on legal thought created a framework where justice was seen not merely as punishment, but as a means to cultivate societal virtue. This transformation laid the groundwork for future interpretations of morality within the Roman legal system. Gender dynamics in parricide cases reveal a complex interplay between societal expectations and legal perceptions. Males, often viewed as the primary aggressors, faced a unique scrutiny. Their motivations, whether rooted in familial strife or ambition, were weighed heavily in the eyes of the law. It often reduced the narrative to one of power and dominance, overlooking the nuanced emotional landscapes that may have contributed to such drastic actions. In contrast, females in similar circumstances encountered a different set of expectations. The legal system frequently portrayed them as victims rather than perpetrators. Even when evidence suggested otherwise, their roles were often framed through the lens of societal morality. leading to perceptions that diminished their agency. This region of the law grappled with the implications of female involvement in familial violence, creating a dichotomy that complicated the pursuit of justice. Judges and juries navigated these gendered perceptions, leading to varying outcomes in trials. The leniency often afforded to women underlines the inherent biases within the legal framework, reflecting broader cultural attitudes towards femininity and morality. This dichotomy persists, shaping the narratives surrounding violence and familial loyalty. Outcomes of these cases not only influenced individual lives, but also served as a mirror, revealing the evolving societal constructs of gender, power, and accountability. Blood and sacrifice formed the very foundation of Roman rituals, intertwining with the fabric of societal norms and religious practices. These acts symbolized a connection between mortals and the divine, reinforcing the belief that offerings were essential to appease the gods. The spilling of blood was not merely a physical act. It represented a profound exchange of life forces, a means of establishing favor or forgiveness. Favor or forgiveness. In this context, animal sacrifices held significant importance, often involving the ritualistic slaughter of animals such as sheep or pigs. The chosen creatures embodied the community's collective spirit, their life forces surrendering to secure prosperity, health, and victory in warfare. These moments were charged with communal energy, binding the populace through shared beliefs and collective responsibility. Rituals varied in complexity, from solemn offerings at altars to grand public ceremonies that captivated the masses. Temples became focal points for these practices, adorned with symbols of power and reverence. The blood, as it flowed, was believed to carry the weight of intentions, aspirations, and fears, echoing the desires of the people. I saw the dude. This significance extended into the realm of politics as well, where bloodshed in conflict was often sanctified through ritualistic elements. Such intersections of sacrifice and authority highlighted the intricate balance between governance, religion, and the expectations of society. The practice of scourging served as a vital component within Roman religious rituals. Intertwining punishment and devotion, it manifested in various forms, often as an offering to deities, intended to appease and seek favor from the divine. The act was not merely punitive, it embodied a complex relationship between the physical and spiritual realms, emphasizing the belief that suffering could cleanse the soul and enhance communal standing. In this region, the ritualistic nature of scourging was deeply embedded in the cultural fabric. Participants, often priests or dedicated followers, engaged in this practice to demonstrate their loyalty, submitting themselves to the will of the gods. Such rituals were meticulously choreographed, ensuring that every lash and every cry resonated with the collective conscience, reinforcing societal norms and expectations. The significance of these acts extended beyond individual penance. Communities often gathered to witness the rituals, forging a shared experience that reinforced common beliefs and values. The interplay between pain and purpose was palpable, as the physical act of scourging served as a conduit for spiritual elevation, transforming suffering into a sacred narrative. This intricate connection between corporeal punishment and divine favor permeated various levels of Roman life, establishing a framework where authority, sacrifice, and religious obligation converged, shaping both individual destinies and the collective ethos. The evolution of legal punishments in ancient Rome reflected broader societal values and the changing landscape of governance. Initially, harsh penalties were employed to maintain order and deter transgressions. Methods such as flogging, beheading, and even crucifixion were commonplace, serving not only as retribution but also as public spectacles meant to reinforce the power of the state. These practices were rooted in the belief that visible punishment would instill fear and compliance among the populace. As Rome expanded, the complexity of its legal system grew. The introduction of the 12 tables marked a significant shift, laying down written laws that provided a measure of protection for the citizenry. This codification gradually transformed punishment from arbitrary acts of violence into structured legal proceedings. The focus began to shift from physical torment towards concepts of justice and rehabilitation. In time, new forms of punishment emerged, including exile and fines, reflecting a more nuanced understanding of crime and its ramifications. The influence of philosophy and moral reasoning began to seep into legal thought, advocating for proportionality and the potential for redemption. This gradual evolution culminated in a system that, while still punitive, aimed to balance societal order with individual rights, paving the way for future legal frameworks throughout history. The Senate played a pivotal role in the development of parricide legislation, serving as the epicenter of political discourse and legal reform in ancient Rome. This institution meticulously debated the implications of parental homicide, reflecting the tension between traditional Roman values and the necessity for evolving justice. Decisions made within these hallowed walls were not merely procedural. They shaped societal perceptions of crime and punishment. In this context, the Senate addressed the moral and ethical dimensions of parricide. Legislative proposals were scrutinized, with senators weighing the gravity of the act against the prevailing cultural norms. The underlying belief was that the family unit was the foundation of Roman society. Thus, any threat to its integrity required a firm response. Discussions often centered on the motivations behind such heinous acts, recognizing that the complexities of human relationships could not be overlooked. Legal measures established by the Senate delineated penalties, often resulting in severe consequences for the perpetrator. The harshness of these laws underscored the collective commitment to maintaining order and protecting societal values. Over time, the Senate's role evolved, reflecting the shifting dynamics of power and morality. The legislative framework created during this era not only addressed parricide, but also set precedents that would resonate throughout the trajectory of Roman legal thought. Historical accounts reveal a complex relationship between punishment and societal values in ancient Rome. Scourging, often employed as a public spectacle, served both as a form of retribution and a means of social control. In this context, it was not merely an act of physical punishment, but a ritualistic endeavor that reinforced the power of the state over the individual. This practice was particularly pronounced in cases of parricide, where the gravity of the crime warranted severe consequences. The act of scourging itself was methodical, conducted in public spaces to maximize humiliation and deter potential offenders. Victims often faced not only the lash but also the judgment of their peers, their suffering a cautionary tale etched into the collective memory of society. This punishment was rooted in the belief that such transgressions against familial bonds warranted an extreme response, reflecting the moral fabric of Roman civilization. Legally sanctioned, scourging required precise adherence to established protocols, ensuring that the punishment was executed with a sense of ritualistic seriousness. Documentation from the period highlights various instances where perpetrators, stripped of their humanity, became symbols of the state's unyielding authority. The scars left behind, both physical and psychological, imprinted lessons in loyalty and obedience that transcended generations, shaping the evolving legal landscape of Rome. The evolution of punitive measures marked a significant shift within the societal framework. Private penalties, once confined to familial or local jurisdictions, gradually ceded ground to more public displays of retribution. This transition reflected a growing perception of justice as a communal affair, emphasizing collective values over individual grievances. The once intimate acts of punishment transformed into spectacles meant to reinforce social order. Public executions, particularly in the Forum, drew vast crowds, becoming a grim form of entertainment. These events served dual purposes. They instilled fear among wrongdoers, while simultaneously reinforcing the authority of the state. The visibility of such actions fostered a sense of shared responsibility among citizens, contributing to the perception that moral oversight extended beyond mere private concerns. The application of these public punishments was marked by ritualistic elements, designed to amplify the psychological impact on spectators. The chilling process of execution became a reminder of the consequences of transgression, fostering compliance among the populace. Each act, carefully choreographed, underscored the state's dominion over life and death, further entrenching the social hierarchy. This shift also influenced legal frameworks, as lawmakers began to codify these public displays, intertwining them with the very fabric of Roman identity. The rituals of punishment thus emerged as a powerful tool in the hands of those who wielded authority. The concept of shame and honor permeated every facet of Roman society, acting as a compass for personal conduct and communal identity. Individuals were acutely aware that a mere misstep could tarnish their reputation, leading to ostracism, or worse. These social constructs were not just abstract notions. They served as vital mechanisms for maintaining order within a complex civilization. Honor was often linked to lineage, military prowess, and public service. In contrast, shame could be an inherited stain, passed down through generations, creating a collective burden. This intricate balance of shame and honor influenced decisions at every level. From household dynamics to political maneuvering, the consequences of dishonor could extend beyond personal ramifications, affecting families and entire factions. Acts of parricide, for instance, were not only crimes against individuals, but also assaults on the very fabric of societal values. Those who committed such acts were stripped of any semblance of honor, becoming pariahs within their communities. The public response to these transgressions often involved ritual humiliation, reinforcing the collective disapproval of the act. This process served as a grim reminder of the consequences of moral failure, ensuring that the ideals of honor remained firmly enshrined in the consciousness of the populace. Thus, shame and honor acted as dual pillars in the Roman moral landscape, guiding behavior and shaping societal norms. The psychological effects of ritual scourging on society echoed throughout the Roman Empire. This practice, intended to enforce compliance and deter deviance, served a dual role as both punishment and public spectacle. The act itself was designed to instill fear, reinforcing the boundaries of acceptable behavior. Observers experienced a complex interplay of emotions, from horror to fascination, as they witnessed the physical manifestation of societal values. Communities gathered to witness these events, creating a collective experience that reinforced shared beliefs. The public nature of scourging transformed individual punishment into a communal exercise in morality. It became a stark reminder of the consequences of transgression. serving to unify the populace through a shared understanding of justice. This ritual, steeped in tradition, cultivated a pervasive consciousness that permeated daily life. Over time, the normalization of such events began to shape perceptions of authority and power. Those in positions of governance wielded the scourging not only as a means of control, but also as a way to affirm their own standing within the hierarchy. The psychological impact extended beyond the immediate victims, embedding itself within the fabric of society, influencing behavior and thought processes for generations. In essence, this ritualistic practice forged a deep connection between individual actions and collective identity, leaving an indelible mark on the Roman psyche. Cultural perception of violence in ancient Rome reflected a complex interplay of power, morality, and societal structure. It was not merely a backdrop, but rather a defining element of daily existence. Gladiatorial games served as both entertainment and a stark reminder of the consequences of failure, reinforcing the idea that violence was a necessary component of civic virtue and personal honor. The arenas echoed with the cries of combatants, where valor and brutality were celebrated in equal measure. Public executions and spectacles of punishment highlighted the state's authority over life and death, instilling a sense of order through fear. Such events were communal experiences, drawing crowds that reveled in the display of raw human struggle. This region transformed violence into a spectacle, blurring the lines between justice and cruelty, and cultivating a societal acceptance of brutality as a means to uphold virtue. Literature and art of the period mirrored this acceptance, often glorifying acts of aggression and conquest. Poets and playwrights depicted heroes whose journeys were paved with bloodshed, further embedding violent narratives into the cultural consciousness. The moral ambiguity surrounding these depictions contributed to a collective desensitization, shaping the values and beliefs of citizens across generations. As a result, the relationship between violence and identity became a cornerstone of Roman life, intricately linked to notions of power and societal cohesion. The rituals surrounding execution in Roman law were steeped in tradition and embedded within the cultural psyche. They served not only as punitive measures, but also as public spectacles, reinforcing the authority of the state over the individual. Observers would gather in designated areas, their presence a testament to the societal norms that upheld these practices. The executioner, often a figure of both dread and reverence, stood as a representative of the law's inexorable hand. Methods of execution varied, reflecting both the severity of the crime and the status of the condemned. Crucifixion, for instance, was reserved for the most egregious offenses, a prolonged punishment intended to instill fear within the populace. This method transformed the criminal into a public lesson, their suffering a grim warning against transgression. Rituals accompanying these executions often included sacrificial offerings to appease the gods, reinforcing a belief in divine approval of the punishment. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of reverence and horror as the crowd bore witness to the culmination of justice. These events underscored the fragile balance between order and chaos within Roman society, where the act of taking a life was entwined with an unspoken social contract. In this region, the intersection of law and morality painted a complex portrait of humanity's darker impulses. Oratory emerged as a vital instrument within the framework of parricide trials, shaping public perception and influencing judicial outcomes. Skilled rhetoricians wielded words with precision, crafting arguments that could sway the hearts and minds of jurors. This ability to articulate complex ideas and emotions formed a critical aspect of the legal process, transcending mere facts to evoke empathy or contempt. With such trials, the power of persuasion often overshadowed the evidence presented. The spoken word became a conduit through which the gravity of the act was conveyed, transforming the courtroom into a stage for moral and ethical deliberation. Accusers and defenders alike understood that their success hinged not only on the strength of their case, but also on their capacity to resonate with the audience. Emotions, carefully elicited through eloquence, often drove the verdicts, eclipsing rational discourse. The repercussions of this reliance on oratory extended beyond the courtroom. The narratives woven by these skilled speakers contributed to societal views on familial loyalty and the sanctity of life. This dynamic shaped cultural norms, reinforcing the stigma surrounding parricide while simultaneously revealing the fragility of human relationships. The very act of speaking became a ritual in itself, underscoring the delicate balance between justice and the emotional turmoil inherent in such heinous acts. The lens or recursion osnotrius enspans andostor. The implications of ritual scourging extend beyond the borders of ancient Rome, revealing a complex interplay between justice and cultural expression. Various societies have employed similar punitive measures, though the motivations and methods often differ significantly. In certain indigenous cultures, cleansing rituals are performed to restore balance and harmony after a transgression. These ceremonies emphasize reconciliation rather than mere punishment, focusing on community healing. Contrastingly, in medieval Europe, public executions were designed as spectacles intended to instill fear and maintain societal order. The methods used often mirrored those found in Roman practices, where the spectacle of punishment served as both a deterrent and a demonstration of power. As with the scourging, the emotional weight of the act was heavily intertwined with its public presentation, reinforcing the community's collective conscience regarding justice. Many Eastern philosophies advocate for forgiveness and rehabilitation over retribution. Practices found within these traditions highlight the transformative potential of acknowledging wrongdoing, urging offenders to reflect on their actions rather than face public shame. This emphasis on inner change fundamentally alters the narrative surrounding accountability, shifting focus from punitive measures to restorative justice. These diverse approaches illuminate the various dimensions of societal responses to crime, showcasing the intricate relationship between cultural practices, human emotion, and the quest for justice. The ideological basis of punishment in Rome was deeply entrenched in notions of social order and collective morality. Authority figures perceived crime not merely as individual transgressions, but as threats to the very fabric of society. It was believed that offenders disrupted the balance between the state and its citizens, necessitating a response that would restore harmony. The legal system operated under the conviction that punishment served a dual purpose: deterrence and retribution, both of which aimed to reinforce societal norms. This region's penal philosophy emphasized the role of the state as both guardian and avenger. Punishments were often public, reflecting a societal commitment to demonstrating the consequences of deviance. The visible nature of these penalties served not only to chastise the individual, but also to educate the populace on the importance of adhering to established laws. The function of punishment was thus rooted in a broader understanding of citizenship and communal responsibility. In this context, the application of punitive measures often drew upon cultural beliefs about honor and shame. The family unit, particularly the male head, bore the burden of maintaining reputation, further complicating the dynamics of accountability and justice. Such intricacies shaped the collective response to crime, anchoring it within the prevailing ideologies of the time. This provided a framework through which societal cohesion was understood and maintained. Public spectacles played a crucial role in shaping the collective consciousness of Roman citizenry. These events, often grand in scale, served as a reflection of power, authority, and shared identity. Crowds gathered in vast arenas, Aphia Tsuhorsis, their anticipation palpable as they awaited displays of valor, struggle, and sometimes mortality. Each performance, whether it involved gladiatorial combat or chariot racing, acted as a conduit for reinforcing societal norms and expectations. Spectacles became a means of escapism, allowing citizens to engage vicariously in the triumphs and tribulations projected before them. Emotions surged and receded in unison, creating a sense of belonging among the masses. The thrill of victory and the despair of defeat transcended individual experiences, weaving a unified narrative that bolstered the empire's strength. Beyond mere entertainment, these occasions were strategically employed by political leaders to divert attention from pressing issues. Discontent could be soothed momentarily, as the promise of spectacle offered distraction from the complexities of governance and the struggles of everyday life. In this context, the physical spaces of arenas and amphitheaters evolved into symbols of imperial grandeur, encapsulating both the might of the state and the subjugated will of the populace. Through these powerful displays, the very fabric of Roman society was intricately intertwined with the spectacle of life and death. The use of scourging in Roman military discipline served as a brutal reminder of authority and control. This method was not merely a punishment, but a calculated mechanism to instill obedience among soldiers. It operated under the principle that physical pain could effectively reinforce the hierarchy and expectations within the ranks. Each lash delivered was steeped in the weight of tradition, a ritualistic act designed to uphold the integrity of the legion. Discipline was paramount in maintaining the efficiency of the Roman military. Soldiers who faltered in duty faced the grim prospect of scourging, a fate that awaited those who displayed cowardice or insubordination. This practice ensured that the collective strength of the unit remained intact, fostering an atmosphere of unwavering loyalty. The stark reality of these consequences often prompted swift compliance, as the repercussions were well understood. The psychological impact of such punishment extended beyond the immediate physical suffering. It served as a warning to others, reinforcing a culture where fear and respect coexisted. This form of discipline formed a critical part of military training. The Flamen Dialis, a priest dedicated to Jupiter, played an integral role in various religious observances. This position was steeped in tradition and held significant responsibilities, ensuring that rituals adhered to the ancient customs of Roman society. They maintained a direct connection to the divine, guiding the community's spiritual and ethical compass. Rituals often took place in sacred spaces, marked by altars and symbolic offerings. The Flamen Dialis, adorned in specific garments, performed acts intended to invoke protection and favor from the gods. The meticulous observance of details, from the positioning of offerings to the recitation of prayers, reflected the gravity of their duties. Each movement was deliberate, reinforcing the importance of seeking divine approval in both public and private life. In the context of military discipline, the Flamen Dialis ensured that rituals surrounding warfare were conducted with utmost reverence. The community understood that these acts were not mere formalities. They were essential in securing the favor of the gods. which was believed to directly influence the outcomes of battles. This was a time when the intertwining of faith and duty became evident, showcasing the critical role that spiritual leaders played in shaping the moral landscape of Rome. The Flamen Dialis served as a bridge between the temporal and the eternal, guiding society through the complexities of existence. The influence of religion permeated the legal proceedings of ancient Rome, where the sacred and the secular coalesced into a singular system of governance.
In this environment, the presence of spiritual authority lent weight to judicial outcomes, as decisions often hinged not only on laws, but also on divine favor. Priests and priestesses, entrusted with interpreting the will of the gods, held significant sway over the determination of guilt or innocence. Rituals enacted within the courts underscored the belief in higher powers guiding human affairs. Oaths taken by defendants and witnesses were steeped in religious significance, invoking divine witness to ensure truthfulness. This integration of faith into legal practices fostered a climate where the potential for divine retribution loomed over every accusation, influencing the behavior of individuals within the societal framework. Judges, often selected from the ranks of the priestly class, navigated the delicate balance between human law and divine ordinance. Their rulings frequently reflected the prevailing moral tenets derived from religious doctrine. Trials could transform into public spectacles where the intertwining of piety and justice was on full display, reinforcing collective beliefs in divine oversight. Weerstaande ombuton oversight shaped societal norms, embedding a profound sense of accountability that extended far beyond earthly consequences. Such an intertwining left an indelible mark on Rome's moral and legal identity. The Vestal Virgins held a unique position within Roman society, embodying both religious authority and societal expectations. Their role transcended mere ritual. It served as a symbolic cleansing of the state's moral fabric. Entrusted with the sacred fire, these priestesses were believed to protect the city from calamity through their unbroken vows of chastity. Their purity was thought to ensure the favor of the gods, a necessary condition for the well-being of Rome. And times of crisis, the involvement of the Vestals became particularly critical. Rituals conducted by these women aimed to restore balance and avert divine wrath. The cleansing rites often included offerings and prayers, meticulously performed to appease deities during times of societal unrest or political strife. Each act was steeped in tradition, reflecting the deep-seated beliefs that underpinned Roman life. The consequences of neglecting these rituals could be dire. The loss of the sacred fire was seen as a harbinger of disaster, a direct reflection of the city's moral decay. This belief cemented the Vestal Virgins' importance, as their presence symbolized both renewal and the unyielding connection between the divine and the state. Through their actions, they reinforced the idea that the vitality of Rome depended on the adherence to tradition and the sanctity of its rituals. The evolution of the term ritual scourging unveils a complex interplay between language and cultural practices. Initially rooted in the Latin verb, it conveyed a sense of purification through physical acts. This region of ancient Rome embraced these rituals as a means to appease the gods and uphold societal norms. Over time, the semantics shifted, reflecting deeper societal values and the psychological implications of such acts. The phrase began to encapsulate more than mere punishment. It symbolized a collective catharsis, a channeling of communal anxiety and guilt into a structured framework. Within the context of Roman governance, it became a tool for enforcing conformity, a mechanism through which the populace could witness the consequences of transgression. The act thus gained a dual meaning.
both a punitive measure and a reinforcement of social cohesion. In the later stages of the Roman Empire, the concept expanded further, intertwining with notions of sacrifice and redemption. The scourging transitioned into a symbol of loyalty to the state, intertwining the individual's fate with that of the empire. This transformation reflects broader themes of power and submission, illustrating how language can morph to encapsulate the shifting dynamics of culture and authority. The evolution of ritual scourging serves as a lens through which the complexities of Roman identity and societal expectation can be examined, revealing the underlying currents of human behavior and belief. Parricide's entwinement with political assassination unveils a disturbing facet of Roman society. This region witnessed the intertwining of familial loyalty and the ruthless pursuit of power. The act of killing one's own kin represented not merely a personal betrayal, but a profound political statement, often reflecting the volatile dynamics of authority. These actions were steeped in the belief that the removal of a familial obstacle could pave the way for new governance. The stark reality of these relationships reveals a society where the sanctity of bloodlines clashed with the ambition for dominance. It was not uncommon for the lines between personal vendetta and political necessity to blur. This pattern manifested in notable historical episodes where figures once revered faced the ultimate betrayal from those closest to them. Political assassinations were frequently shrouded in rituals that echoed the gravity of parricide, emphasizing the moral decay that accompanied such drastic measures. The implications reverberated through the political landscape, shaping the behavior of those in power. Each act of betrayal carried with it a weight that transcended the individual, leaving a legacy of distrust and fear. The correlation between these acts highlights a disturbing truth about the nature of power, revealing that in the pursuit of control, even the most sacred bonds could be severed with cold calculation. Reflection upon parricide within Roman literature unveils a profound exploration of familial relationships and societal values. The works of prominent figures reveal an unsettling fascination with the implications of such violence. Tragedies often portrayed the act as both a personal and political statement, reflecting the inner turmoil experienced by characters grappling with loyalty, betrayal, and the weight of legacy. On this context, characters frequently inhabit a moral gray area, embodying the tension between duty to the state and obligation to kin. The narratives forcefully illustrate how these individuals often become entangled in a web of conflicting loyalties, leading them toward irreversible decisions. The exploration of these themes serves to question the very essence of humanity when confronted with the allure of absolute power. The consequences depicted in these literary works extend beyond mere narrative. They resonate deeply within the cultural consciousness of Rome. The portrayal of parricide invites contemplation of how the fragility of familial bonds can be exploited, transformed into instruments of ambition, guilt, remorse, and the haunting specter of retribution linger throughout, emphasizing that the act is not merely a crime, but a profound tragedy with reverberating effects. These texts offer a timeless examination of the human condition, challenging readers to reflect upon the complex interplay between personal aspirations and moral imperatives. The dynamics of socioeconomic status play a critical role in the proceedings of parricide trials. Variations in wealth, education, and social standing can profoundly influence both the defense and prosecution strategies. In this context, the affluent often possess more resources to procure expert testimony and high-quality legal representation, creating disparities in courtroom effectiveness. Their ability to present a more polished narrative can sway jurors and judges, impacting perceptions of guilt or innocence. Conversely, individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds frequently face systemic disadvantages that hinder their defense. Limited access to legal counsel and resources can result in inadequate representation. The societal biases often present in judicial systems further compound these challenges, leading to harsher sentences or wrongful convictions for the economically disadvantaged. The historical backdrop reveals that public sentiment surrounding parricide is often colored by the perpetrator's social class. Crimes committed by the wealthy may be viewed through a lens of psychological complexity, inviting empathy and understanding. In contrast, those from less privileged backgrounds may be met with disdain or moral outrage, reinforcing negative stereotypes. Examining these trials provides valuable insight into the broader implications of socioeconomic status. Legal outcomes reflect not only the actions of individuals, but also the systems that govern behavior, shaping societal narratives about justice and morality. The plebeians held a critical position within the legal framework of Roman society, their voices resonating through the intricate pathways of justice. They were often the subjects of legal proceedings, yet their engagement extended beyond mere observation. This class, representing the common citizenry, participated actively in the assembly, providing a counterbalance to the patrician elite. Their influence could shift the tides of public opinion, impacting legal outcomes in profound ways. In matters of trial, plebeians could serve as jurors, their perspectives shaping the narratives presented before the courts. This involvement ensured that the voices of the many were intertwined with the decisions made by the few. Their experiences, often rooted in the daily struggles of life, infused the judicial process with a sense of reality that might otherwise be overlooked by the privileged classes. This region, steeped in social stratification, saw plebeians not only react to the laws, but also advocate for change. Their demands for rights and representation sparked legal reforms that aimed to create a more equitable system. Yet, the power dynamics remained delicate, as the threat of retribution loomed large for dissenting voices. Thus, the legal landscape of ancient Rome became a battleground, where plebeians navigated the complexities of justice, often at great personal risk, yet forging pathways toward greater societal awareness. The moral implications of scourging as punishment present a profound conflict within the fabric of Roman society. This method, often reserved for the most egregious offenses, stripped individuals of their dignity, reducing them to mere instruments of societal order. The physical torment inflicted during such punishments elicited varied responses from onlookers, ranging from condemnation to tacit approval. The visceral nature of this practice challenged fundamental notions of humanity, forcing individuals to confront their own ethical boundaries. The act itself became a reflection of societal values, highlighting the tensions between justice and cruelty. Scourging was not merely a punitive measure. It served as a grim reminder of power dynamics, where the ruling class asserted dominance over the subjugated. The public spectacle of punishment often drew crowds, creating an unsettling atmosphere that blurred the lines between justice and entertainment. On these moments, the humanity of the scourged was eclipsed by the collective gaze of spectators. Each lash served to reinforce societal hierarchies, creating a chilling dichotomy between the enforcers of law and the victims of its wrath. The implications extended beyond the individual, resonating within the community and influencing collective perceptions of morality and justice. The moral dilemmas surrounding scourging thus encapsulated the broader struggle for humanity within a system designed to uphold authority at all costs. The perpetrator's psyche becomes an intricate landscape shaped by the act of scourging. Engaging in such brutality often replicates a cycle of trauma, where the enforcer inflicts pain while simultaneously grappling with their own humanity. This region of conflicted emotions manifests in various ways. Guilt, numbness, and a distorted sense of power intermingle, leaving deep psychological scars. Such actions foster an environment where desensitization to violence becomes the norm. Violence becomes the norm. In the quiet aftermath of each act, reflections may emerge, leading to an internal struggle that challenges one's moral compass. Dehumanizing the victim is a mechanism employed not only for control, but also as a shield against the emotional fallout of violence. This process erodes the perpetrator's empathy, creating a barrier that separates them from their own humanity. Fear of retribution and the need for acceptance within a brutal hierarchy further compound these effects. As the enforcer rises through the ranks, the initial moral conflicts may diminish, replaced by a hardened exterior that masks underlying turmoil. Each scourging becomes a step further into a void of alienation, both from society and from oneself. Over time, the line blurs between authority and cruelty, leading to an unsettling normalization of violence that reverberates across generations. Philosophy played a pivotal role in shaping Roman criminal justice, guiding the moral and ethical frameworks that dictated societal norms. Stoicism emerged as a significant force, emphasizing reason and virtue as foundational elements of justice. This philosophical school posited that true law was rooted in nature and reason rather than mere human decree. As a result, the application of justice in this era began to reflect a more scrutinized understanding of morality. Legal scholars, such as Cicero, contributed to this intellectual discourse by asserting that laws should align with universal principles. They advocated for the protection of individual rights, even within the confines of a rigid legal system. This philosophical approach began to challenge existing practices, prompting reforms that aimed to humanize the process of justice. Even in cases of parricide, the philosophical discourse sought to differentiate between the act and the actor, introducing notions of intent and circumstance. These evolving ideas gradually influenced the implementation of laws, softening the rigid punitive measures that characterized earlier eras. The evolution of punitive measures manifested in various forms across the Roman landscape. Institutions began to reflect a more nuanced understanding of wrongdoing, emphasizing societal cohesion over mere retribution. Legal frameworks emerged, embodying a shift toward rehabilitation and the possible reintegration of offenders into their communities. This region, once defined by its harsh penalties, began to explore the underlying factors contributing to criminal behavior, such as social status and familial obligations. Judicial practices often involved public trials, where community engagement provided a check on arbitrary power. These proceedings showcased the importance of collective memory and social norms in shaping perceptions of justice. The influence of rhetoric and philosophy played a crucial role, as orators argued for the moral implications of punishment advocating for mercy alongside accountability. The role of punishment transformed to encompass not only the individual, but also the broader societal fabric. The concept of deterrence emerged, illustrating the desire to maintain order through visible consequences. Despite the harsh realities of punishment, there existed an underlying belief in the capacity for change. This dynamic interplay between justice and humanity created a complex landscape where the ancient Romans grappled with reconciling their values with their legal practices. Such considerations laid the groundwork for future discourse on morality and ethics in governance. The interplay between mythology and legal codes reveals a complex relationship that shaped societal norms and expectations. Ancient civilizations often drew inspiration from their mythological narratives when establishing laws, intertwining the divine with human governance. This region was no exception, where gods and goddesses were seen as arbiters of justice, influencing the moral fabric of legal frameworks. Legal codes served not only as guidelines for behavior, but also as reflections of cultural beliefs. In this context, deities exemplified virtues such as honor, truth, and retribution. This connection fostered a legal environment that was both respected and feared, reinforcing the notion that divine oversight was inextricably linked to human legislation. Rituals and ceremonies surrounding the enactment of laws often invoked these mythic figures, further solidifying their role within the societal structure. Legislation was frequently subject to reinterpretation, influenced by evolving myths that emerged in response to changing political landscapes. As narratives adapted, so too did the laws, illustrating a dynamic exchange between mythology and governance. Through this continuous evolution, a society could maintain stability while accommodating new values and beliefs. These intricate ties laid the foundation for future legal systems, highlighting the enduring impact of mythological elements on the governance of civilizations throughout history. The family structure played a crucial role in the Roman criminal justice system. Kinship bonds dictated not only personal relationships, but also societal obligations. Within this framework, family members acted as both protectors and prosecutors, often serving as the initial judges of behavior. The concept of familia extended beyond mere household units, encompassing a broader network of loyalty and support. In cases of criminal acts, the family's response was paramount.
Honor and reputation hinged on collective accountability. A transgression by one could tarnish the entire lineage. This expectation fostered a system where familial intervention was common. Disputes were frequently settled within the confines of the household, forestalling formal legal proceedings. In severe instances, the pater familias, or head of the family, wielded significant authority. His decisions could determine the fate of an accused member, influencing whether they faced external legal recourse or remained shielded by familial ties. The weight of such authority often meant that justice was more about maintaining social order than enforcing punitive measures. The separation of legal consequences from familial loyalty revealed a complex dynamic within Roman society. These interactions underscored how the family unit not only provided emotional support, but also served as a critical mediator in the legal landscape, reflecting broader societal values and priorities. The intertwining of personal and civic duties shaped the evolution of justice in ancient Rome. This evolution was deeply entwined with the belief in divine retribution, a fundamental aspect of Roman spirituality.
It was understood that the gods maintained a watchful gaze over the moral fabric of society, ensuring that justice was meted out not just in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual one. The consequences of failing to uphold these divine laws could manifest in various forms, ranging from personal misfortune to widespread calamity. This connection to divine oversight fostered a pervasive sense of accountability among citizens. It influenced their actions as the fear of retribution served as a deterrent against wrongdoing. The societal expectation of adherence to moral codes was reinforced through rituals and public ceremonies, which were believed to placate the deities and secure their favor. Such practices underscored the importance of maintaining harmony between the divine and human realms. In moments of crisis, this belief in divine retribution took on an urgent dimension. Individuals facing dire situations often turned to prayer and sacrifice, seeking to avert the wrath of the gods. These acts demonstrated a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of fate and free will. Through this lens, the Romans viewed their lives as a continuous negotiation with the divine, shaping not just personal destinies but the very essence of their civilization. The scourging ritual emerged as a means of social purification, deeply embedded within the Roman psyche. It served as a poignant reminder of the societal values and collective morality upheld within this civilization. Through the act of ritualistic punishment, individuals deemed a threat to the social order were stripped of their humanity, their transgressions laid bare for all to witness. The process was methodical, underscoring the community's commitment to maintaining harmony amidst the chaos of human behavior. This ritual unfolded in public arenas, where the populace gathered, their eyes fixed upon the unfolding events. It became an expression of collective identity, a shared understanding that boundaries must be enforced for the greater good. The individuals subjected to such punishment often bore the weight of ancestral sins, their suffering echoing through time as a reminder of the consequences of moral failing. As the lashes fell, the ritual transformed into a spectacle, intertwining notions of justice and retribution. It invoked a sense of catharsis, an opportunity for the community to reaffirm their values while collectively processing the intricacies of guilt and redemption. The atmosphere was charged with an unspoken agreement, a tacit acknowledgement that through such acts of purification, the fabric of society could be mended, allowing the civilization to endure and flourish amidst the complexities of human nature. This process of legal education unfolded within the structured environment of Rome, where the principles of rhetoric served as the backbone of judicial practice. Scholars and orators were immersed in a rigorous system, fostering a mastery of language that transcended mere communication. The study began early, often within familial settings, where foundational concepts were instilled through dialogue and debate. These exchanges, rich in philosophical underpinning, laid the groundwork for future advocates. Institutions emerged, dedicated to the cultivation of legal minds. Students engaged in the examination of established texts, analyzing precedents that shaped the legal landscape. This examination was more than academic. It was a rite of passage, a journey toward becoming a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the public good. The art of persuasion was paramount, with students honing their skills in public forums, where the effectiveness of their arguments was scrutinized by peers and mentors alike. The courtroom itself became a stage for this intellectual engagement. Legal disputes unfolded like carefully orchestrated performances, where every gesture and inflection mattered. The weight of tradition pressed upon these proceedings, imbuing them with a gravity that echoed throughout society. This intricate interplay of law and rhetoric fortified the societal structures, ensuring that justice, however imperfect, could still be pursued within the constraints of a complex civilization. The responsibilities of the aediles extended beyond mere oversight of public works. They served as guardians of public morality, tasked with preserving the ethical framework of society. This role encompassed the regulation of public games, festivals, and the conduct of citizens within urban spaces. Their influence was palpable as they ensured that moral standards were upheld through a combination of enforcement and civic engagement.
In this region, the presence of aediles was felt during large gatherings, where they would oversee the festivities and monitor behavior. They possessed the authority to impose fines or penalties on those who deviated from established norms. This vigilance acted as a deterrent, subtly shaping the public sphere and reinforcing societal expectations. The aediles also played a critical role in addressing acts perceived as immoral, such as corruption or violence, further solidifying their position as enforcers of collective ethics. The relationship between the aediles and the populace was complex. Citizens often viewed them with both respect and apprehension, aware of their ability to influence daily life through regulation. In maintaining public morality, they contributed to a sense of order within the chaotic urban landscape, promoting a semblance of stability amidst the flux of human behavior. This dedication to moral governance facilitated a cohesive identity, binding the community together through shared values and mutual obligations. The iconography of scourging in Roman art reveals the complexities of punishment and power within the society. Visual representations often depict the act as a means of enforcing authority, emphasizing the physicality and brutality inherent in the process. Sculptures and frescoes showcase figures subjected to this form of corporal punishment, their expressions and postures conveying the suffering inflicted by both the implement and the intent behind it. These artistic renditions serve not merely as documentation of a practice, but as a reflection of societal values. The imagery often juxtaposes the victim's anguish with the stoic demeanor of the executioners, illustrating a stark contrast that reinforces the established hierarchy. This dynamic may reinforce perceptions of justice as administered by the state, a necessary deterrent against perceived transgressions. The prevalence of such motifs extends beyond mere aesthetics. They penetrate the collective psyche, reinforcing the idea that discipline was vital for maintaining order. The presence of deities witnessing these acts further intertwines the themes of divinity and mortality, suggesting an innate connection between human actions and the cosmic order. The rituals portrayed through these artworks become emblematic, encapsulating a culture steeped in the complexities of governance and societal norms. The impact of scourging on military culture was profound, shaping not only discipline but also the collective psyche of the legions. This technique served as a method of enforcing order, instilling a sense of loyalty and obedience among the ranks. The physicality of the punishment echoed through the training grounds, where the threat of scourging loomed over soldiers, reinforcing the necessity of adherence to commands. In this region, the scars of discipline became a badge of honor, highlighting the resilience required to endure both the trials of combat and the rigors of military life. Soldiers learned to associate pain with strength, fostering an environment where emotional toughness was as crucial as physical prowess. The echoes of lashes could be heard during drills, marking the rhythm of training and the relentless pursuit of excellence. This practice had broader implications, influencing interactions within the ranks and among officers. The expectation of loyalty created a hierarchy steeped in fear and respect. Those who survived the scourging often emerged more unified, bound by shared experiences of suffering and perseverance. The cultural ramifications extended beyond the battleground, permeating civilian life. It reinforced the notion of sacrifice, a theme deeply embedded within the Roman identity. The scars borne by soldiers became symbolic of the sacrifices made for the state, a testament to enduring commitment even in the face of adversity. This enduring commitment extends into the political realm, where high-profile parricide cases reverberate through the very fabric of governance. Such instances often unveil the fragile balance between power and morality, shaping public perception and influencing policy. Political leaders, in their quest for legitimacy, navigate the treacherous waters of public opinion, often responding with calculated rhetoric. The discourse surrounding these events is characterized by a blend of outrage and reflection, prompting society to reassess its values and the foundations of authority. Consequences ripple outward, as these cases can incite legislative reforms aimed at preventing future transgressions. The public's demand for accountability fosters an environment where misdeeds are scrutinized, leading to a shift in how power is wielded. In this region, the act of parricide transcends personal tragedy, becoming a catalyst for change that challenges the status quo. Media coverage amplifies the impact, framing narratives that resonate with the populace. They become focal points for debates on justice, ethics, and governance. This intersection reveals complex layers of societal norms and spiritual beliefs. Roman law, characterized by its codified statutes and legal principles, coexisted with a rich tapestry of religious practices that governed daily life. It was not uncommon for legal proceedings to intertwine with religious rituals, as the divine was frequently invoked to legitimize human authority and moral directives. The outcomes of trials often hinged on the will of the gods, with omens and auguries influencing verdicts. Priests and magistrates shared a unique relationship, wherein legal authority complemented spiritual oversight. This duality fostered a culture where the sacred and secular were not distinctly separated, but rather intertwined, shaping the moral compass of the populace. The concept of piety was integral to justice, demanding that legal decisions reflect divine will.
The sacred law dictated that wrongful acts required not only human retribution, but also ritual purification to appease the gods. Such practices underscored a belief in cosmic order, where every action prompted a reaction, not merely on a human level, but within the divine realm as well. These elements contributed to a legal landscape deeply embedded in religious consciousness, where morality and legality were often indistinguishable, molding the very fabric of Roman civilization. The enduring influence of communal sentiment played a pivotal role in shaping norms of punishment within this context. Collective values dictated acceptable responses to transgressions, often prioritizing the preservation of societal order over individual rights. In such a tightly knit society, the bonds of kinship and shared beliefs fortified a common understanding of justice. This understanding was often reflected in public displays of punishment, which served as both a deterrent and a reaffirmation of community standards. Ritualistic elements accompanied many forms of punishment, intertwining legal actions with deeply ingrained cultural practices. The community's involvement in these proceedings not only highlighted the collective nature of justice, but also reinforced a sense of belonging among its members. The transgressor's punishment was perceived as an act against the entire community, necessitating a unified response to restore balance. Restorative measures frequently emerged from these communal dynamics, emphasizing reconciliation with the offended parties. Such approaches highlighted the importance of community cohesion, as reparation often required active participation from those within the social sphere. This collective engagement in the judicial process underscored a belief that punishment should serve a purpose beyond mere retribution, fostering a deeper understanding of moral responsibility. Through these interactions, the evolving norms of punishment resonated with the community's values, creating a system that both reflected and shaped the moral landscape of Roman civilization. The evolution of parricide laws over time illustrates a significant shift in societal perspectives on familial relationships and moral obligations. Initial legal frameworks were often harsh, reflecting a societal need to deter betrayal within the family unit. These early statutes emphasized retribution and public humiliation as a means of reinforcing authority and upholding traditional values. Gradually, the deinterpretation of parricide began to incorporate elements of understanding the underlying motivations. This transition signified a growing recognition of psychological complexities and the circumstances surrounding such acts. It highlighted a departure from solely punitive measures, leading to a nuanced approach that examined the individual's mental state and social context. Legislators began to consider not only the act itself, but also the broader implications for family dynamics and community stability. This shift was indicative of a society increasingly aware of the interplay between law and morality. The legal distinctions between intentional and unintentional parricide emerged, allowing for varying degrees of punishment that aligned more closely with philosophical views on justice and redemption. This evolution of legal thought was significantly shaped by prominent Roman philosophers, whose reflections on ethics and morality permeated the fabric of society. Figures such as Cicero and Seneca contributed profound insights into human nature and responsibility. Their works explored the delicate balance between personal autonomy and societal obligation, framing the discussion of parricide within a larger context of duty and virtue. The philosophical discourse emphasized the inherent dignity of human life, prompting a re-evaluation of punitive measures. It was through the lens of Stoicism that the concept of self-control and rationality emerged, underscoring the notion that individuals possess the capacity for reasoned choices, even in the most tragic circumstances. Ideas of fate and moral culpability were examined, suggesting that external forces could influence one's actions without entirely absolving responsibility. This intellectual backdrop fostered a legal environment that sought to reflect the complexities of human behavior. The ramifications of a parricidal act were not merely confined to the individual, but extended to familial and societal impacts. Requiring a nuanced approach to justice, legal practitioners began advocating for restorative measures, emphasizing rehabilitation over mere retribution. Such philosophical underpinnings contributed to a more humane approach to punishment, seeking to understand the roots of such profound transgressions rather than solely condemning them. Influences from the Roman perspective on parricide resonate within later civilizations, shaping legal frameworks and ethical considerations. Subsequent societies grappled with the tension between familial loyalty and societal obligations, reflecting on the implications of such betrayals. In these discussions, the act of harming one's progenitors became a profound symbol of moral failure. Often examined through spiritual and philosophical lenses, the influence of these early notions can be seen in the way medieval and Renaissance thinkers approached the subject. Literature from these periods often depicted parricide as a harbinger of chaos, where the disruption of familial bonds heralded broader societal decay. Texts explored the psychological motivations behind these acts, delving deep into the human psyche and the complexities of familial relationships. This examination extended into legal realms, where the ramifications of parricide were met with severe penalties. Punishments often reflected societal fears surrounding the breakdown of the family unit. The repercussions of these actions were not merely personal, but rather viewed as a threat to the stability of the community itself. The legacy persists in modern interpretations of criminal behavior, emphasizing the need for understanding and rehabilitation over mere retribution. This ongoing dialogue illustrates humanity's enduring quest to reconcile the darkness within, fostering a more nuanced comprehension of morality and its implications across diverse cultures. The use of scourging emerges as a chilling commentary on societal norms and the human condition. In ancient Rome, this brutal practice served as a potent symbol of power and control, reflecting the harsh realities of social hierarchies. It was not merely a punishment, but a means of instilling fear, a visceral reminder of the consequences of transgression. This method carried significant social weight, as it underscored the fragility of status and the thin veneer of civility that could be stripped away in moments of dissent. Its application in public spectacles transformed scourging into a spectacle of morality, prompting observers to confront their own complicity in societal violence. The act became a ritualistic performance where the boundary between spectator and participant blurred, inviting collective reflection on the nature of justice and retribution. Each lash resonated with a deeper commentary on the human propensity for cruelty, forcing society to grapple with its darker impulses. In this context, the ritual of scourging transcended mere punishment. It became an exploration of power dynamics and moral frameworks. Such acts illuminated the complexities of social order, revealing the underlying tensions that defined human interactions. The echoes of these ancient practices continue to reverberate, shaping contemporary discussions surrounding justice, ethics, apaestisia, and humanity's ongoing struggle with its darker nature. In Roman religion, the scourge held profound significance, often embodying the duality of punishment and purification. This instrument, crafted from braided leather or other materials, was not merely a tool of physical chastisement, but a symbol of divine retribution. Its use in various rituals underscored the belief that through suffering, one could attain a state of grace or favor from the gods. This belief permeated numerous ceremonies, where the act of scourging was intertwined with offerings and prayers. Priests and practitioners would invoke the deities while administering scourging, ensuring that the act was imbued with sacred meaning. Such rituals were intended to appease the gods, seeking forgiveness for transgressions or calamities that befell the community. The intense physicality of the scourge was paralleled by the emotional and spiritual weight it carried. Participants often believed that enduring this punishment could cleanse the soul and restore balance. In public spectacles, the act of scourging served as a demonstration of power, reinforcing societal hierarchies and the importance of obedience to both human and divine law. This dynamic created a complex interplay between fear and reverence, with the scourge acting as a reminder of the consequences of moral failings. The ritual importance of this implement thus encapsulated the Romans' intricate relationship with their beliefs and the cosmos surrounding them. The psychological mechanisms of dehumanization in trials reveal profound insights into human behavior and societal structures. At the heart of these proceedings lies a systematic stripping away of individual identity, often facilitated by legal language and procedural formalities. This dynamic fosters an environment where the accused are perceived not as individuals, but as embodiments of transgression. In this context, the emotional distance cultivated by the courtroom setting plays a critical role. Distancing language reduces the accused to mere representations of their alleged crimes, while ritualistic elements reinforce a collective identity that overshadows personal narratives. These practices often lead to the normalization of violence, where the act of punishment is framed as a necessary societal function, rather than a moral failing. The implications extend beyond the confines of the courtroom, influencing public perception and societal attitudes toward justice and retribution. As the focus shifts from individual accountability to collective judgment, the capacity for empathy diminishes. This phenomenon creates an unsettling dichotomy, where the fulfillment of legal obligations overshadows ethical considerations. In examining historical precedents, the ramifications of such dehumanization are evident. Societal complicity often emerges as communities grapple with the moral consequences of endorsing punitive measures. Each trial thus serves not only as a legal process, but as a reflection of broader cultural values and the complexities inherent in the human condition. The Fee Emperor's position was pivotal in shaping the notion of justice within this intricate societal framework. Centralized authority often dictated the legal norms, with the emperor embodying the very essence of state power and moral rectitude. It was within this context that edicts were issued, transforming the interpretation of justice into an extension of the emperor's will. The legal system became less about impartial adjudication and more about the demonstration of loyalty to imperial authority. In this environment, the emperor acted as both judge and arbiter, wielding the capacity to define crimes and their corresponding punishments. This role established a direct correlation between the emperor's personal beliefs and the public understanding of moral conduct. As a result, the populace often viewed the emperor's decisions as divinely sanctioned, further reinforcing the legitimacy of their rule. The dynamics of justice also reflected the social hierarchies present in Roman society. Those of higher status were afforded greater leniency, while the lower classes faced harsher consequences for transgressions. Such disparities underscored the complexities of justice, revealing its susceptibility to manipulation by those in power. The emperor's influence extended beyond the courts, permeating the very fabric of daily life, commanding both reverence and fear throughout the empire. Justice in Roman society often reflected the intricate intersections of class and power. Legal proceedings were heavily influenced by social status, with the elite enjoying privileges unattainable to lower classes. This disparity created a landscape where outcomes could often be predicted by the wealth or influence of the accused. Wealthy citizens could afford skilled advocates, while the less fortunate relied on public defenders, often overwhelmed by the demands of their caseloads. The consequences of this imbalance played out in the courts, where testimonies from the upper echelons were typically regarded with greater credibility. This created a systemic bias, fostering an environment where justice was not blind, but rather heavily tinted by the lens of class. It was not uncommon for the affluent to evade punishment altogether, while the impoverished faced severe repercussions for minor infractions. These dynamics were evident in high-profile trials, where the political ramifications often overshadowed the pursuit of truth. Accusations could lead to swift convictions, driven by public opinion and the desires of influential patrons. As a result, the judicial system became a tool for maintaining social hierarchies rather than dispensing fairness. The implications of such a system reverberated throughout society, entrenching divisions and perpetuating cycles of inequality that defined the Roman experience. Public trials served as a cornerstone of Roman culture, illustrating the interplay between law, society, and individual fate. These proceedings facilitated a collective engagement with justice, drawing citizens into the theater of civic life. Spectators gathered, witnessing the unfolding of narratives that often held deeper meanings, reflecting societal values and moral codes. The roles played by orators and defendants became emblematic of broader ideological battles, embodying the tension between personal honor and public duty. In this context, trials were not merely judicial events, they were public spectacles, reinforcing the idea that justice was both a communal affair and a performance. The emotions displayed, the rhetoric employed, and the outcomes rendered spoke volumes about prevailing attitudes towards power and accountability. The fate of individuals could sway public sentiment, igniting fervor and debate, influencing decisions beyond the courtroom walls. Convictions often carried significant implications, shaping the careers of political figures and altering the trajectories of families and factions. The repercussions of a trial extended beyond the individual, weaving through the social fabric of Rome, affecting alliances and rivalries. Each verdict contributed to a collective understanding of morality, law, and governance, echoing through time as a reflection of the complexities of human nature within the grand narrative of Roman civilization. The finality of punishment in Roman society often manifested in stark contrasts. Death represented an absolute severance from existence, a termination deemed suitable for the gravest offenses. It served not only as a consequence, but also as a warning to others, a method of reinforcing the structures of power and control. In this context, the executioner carried the weight of collective expectation, transforming individual transgressions into communal lessons. In contrast, scourging embodied a more complex interplay of shame and rehabilitation. This method allowed for the infliction of pain without the irreversible cessation of life. It was a ritualistic display that sought to strip away the humanity of the condemned, reducing them to mere instruments of societal correction. Scourging left physical scars, yet it also provided an opportunity for reintegration, a chance to reclaim one's place within the societal hierarchy. The use of both methods reflected the philosophical underpinnings of Roman thought, where the value of life was often measured against the necessity of order. The choice between death and scourging, thus, became a reflection of the prevailing attitudes toward justice, mercy, and the capacity for redemption. Each act of punishment, whether final or reparative, echoed through the streets and homes, shaping the moral fabric of this vast empire. The implications of such choices are evident in the remnants of history, whispering lessons yet to be fully understood. The legacy of Roman legal practices resonates through the corridors of contemporary law. This foundation laid by ancient jurists informs the principles and structures present in modern legal systems across the globe. Codification, a hallmark of Roman law, established methodologies for documenting statutes and regulations, fostering clarity and consistency. These remnants manifest in the meticulous frameworks governing civil, criminal, and administrative matters today. This region's influence extends beyond mere documentation. Concepts such as the presumption of innocence and the right to a fair trial trace their origins to Roman legal thought. These principles are now enshrined in numerous democratic constitutions, underscoring their enduring relevance. A myriad of legal traditions, from common law to civil law, reflects this ancient heritage, adapting its tenets to fit evolving societal norms and values. The evolving nature of legal interpretations also finds roots here, afluwine verse, Parricide, where jurists engaged in the continuous reinterpretation of laws to address the complexities of human behavior and societal change.
This practice nurtured a legal culture steeped in reasoned and systematic analysis, prioritizing justice over mere retribution. Examining the remnants of these ancient legal frameworks, one can discern a persistent thread woven through time, connecting past and present, shaping societies, and guiding the pursuit of justice across civilizations. This enduring legacy, though transformed, continues to impact the human experience profoundly. Historical narratives frame collective memories,
guiding perceptions of past events and their significance. In the context of the Roman parricide, these accounts strip away the complexities of individual humanity, reducing figures to mere archetypes within a grander moral lesson. Such narratives often emphasize themes of betrayal, power struggles, and the consequences of familial violence, shaping the public's understanding of morality and leadership. On this region, where ancient ruins stand as silent witnesses, these stories echo through time, reinforcing societal values and expectations. They serve as cautionary tales, teaching communities about the fragility of authority and the potential for destruction that lies within familial bonds. The sculpted marble and crumbling stone carry the weight of these historical interpretations, reminding modern observers of the intricate relationship between memory and identity. These narratives are not static. They evolve as societies reinterpret their histories. Contemporary reflections may challenge or reaffirm past judgments, altering the significance attributed to these events. The fading company of ancient scholars may have sought to impart wisdom through their writings, yet their perspectives are often filtered through the lens of prevailing cultural ideologies. The interpretation of ancient legal texts presents numerous challenges, particularly due to the context in which they were created. Legal language of the time often mirrors the societal norms and values prevalent in that era, making it difficult to apply contemporary understandings of justice and morality. These documents, while foundational, frequently lack clarity, with ambiguous terms that resist straightforward translation. Nuances embedded in the original Latin can alter the meaning significantly, leaving modern scholars to grapple with the intent behind legislative phrases. This region of study requires not merely linguistic skills, but also a deep understanding of historical context and social dynamics that shaped legal practices. The interplay between written law and its practical application often reveals disparities that complicate interpretation. Furthermore, the fragmentary nature of many texts raises questions about their completeness. Critical portions may be missing, resulting in gaps that challenge the ability to derive comprehensive insights. The surviving manuscripts may represent only a portion of the legal landscape, leading to a skewed understanding of practices. The effort to reconstruct these ancient legal frameworks necessitates a multidisciplinary approach, incorporating archaeological findings, historical accounts, and comparative analysis with other cultures. Each piece contributes to a mosaic of understanding, illuminating the complexities of governance and societal structure during a pivotal era in human history. The ritual scourging holds echoes in various cultures, reflecting a shared human experience of punishment and societal control. In ancient Greece, the practice of flogging served as both a form of discipline and a public spectacle, reinforcing the authority of the state while simultaneously instilling fear among the populace. These acts were often ritualized, creating a framework of expectations surrounding punishment that paralleled the Roman approach. The Enanthronork, in contrast, certain indigenous societies employed ceremonial acts of pain as a rite of passage, establishing a different relationship with suffering and community identity. This region's practices, steeped in tradition, offered a form of spiritual purification rather than mere punishment. The intent shifted from societal deterrence to personal transformation, indicating a profound divergence from Roman methodology. The examination of these varied practices reveals underlying themes of power, control, and cultural identity. Scourging, in the Roman context, transcended mere punishment. It was a tool for maintaining order amidst the complexities of an expanding empire. The psychological implications of such rituals served to reinforce social hierarchies, shaping both the individual and the collective experience within society. These reflections highlight the ritualistic nature of scourging across cultures, revealing how shared human experiences manifest in distinct yet interconnected ways, illustrating the broader narrative of civilization's evolution. Centuries have passed since these practices, yet their influence permeates various aspects of Western civilization. The remnants of those rituals are woven into legal frameworks, cultural traditions, and moral philosophies. Scourging, as an instrument of both punishment and purification, established precedents for authority and control that resonate in contemporary governance. This region's historical narratives have shaped the understanding of justice and retribution, underscoring the complexities of power dynamics. Cultural expressions stemming from these rituals endure in literature and art, where themes of suffering and redemption echo through the ages. The emotive resonance found in classical texts often reflects the moral intricacies rooted in ancient practices, illustrating the enduring dialogue between past and present. These influences extend into religious ceremonies, where elements of ritualistic punishment evoke a sense of shared history, reinforcing community bonds and collective memory. Philosophical inquiry into the nature of humanity has been shaped by the implications of such practices. The examination of morality, ethics, and the human condition draws directly from the trials faced by individuals in these ancient societies. This legacy raises questions about authority, individual rights, and the balance between societal order and personal freedom, inviting ongoing reflection on the lessons learned from those who walked before. The interplay of justice and humanity remains a central theme in the aftermath of parricidal acts throughout history. This region, steeped in the weight of ancient decisions, evokes contemplation on the moral implications of such actions. The enduring questions about the nature of justice persist, challenging the very fabric of societal norms. In examining the consequences faced by those who committed these grave offenses, it becomes evident that the quest for justice can often lead to further complexities. The responses elicited, from retribution to rehabilitation, reflect a spectrum of societal beliefs regarding accountability. This dilemma highlights the intricate balance between punishment and understanding, a tension that continues to resonate in contemporary discussions. These ruins bear witness to the myriad of human experiences, encapsulating the struggles between personal agency and community obligation. Each stone and fragment whispers of the individuals who once navigated this tumultuous landscape, shaped by their choices and the repercussions that followed. The exploration of these themes invites a re-examination of current judicial practices, urging a collective introspection on how society defines justice today. The echoes of past actions provide a foundation for grappling with the complexities of human behavior, offering a lens through which to evaluate the ongoing quest for a just world. Through reflection, the lessons of history remain relevant, guiding future generations in their pursuit of understanding.